that could be rather disastrous for the community. So this is something else that we pulled back to have further discussion on with the two community associations in Ferry Point and perhaps the SOBRO organization, which is the manager of the Westchester Reader Industrial Business Zone, to find different ways of handling parking. So that concludes my portion.
Okay, next up, the Chair of Housing and Zoning would like to address the board.
You've already heard Martin talk about the mayor's new affordable housing plan. This is going against everything this board has fought for the last 10 years. We were looking for increased parking, for less floor ratio, and this is exactly what he wants to do. He wants to increase the floor ratio so that they can build bigger buildings, less green spots, and you know, the old buildings used to have like those little vestibule greens when you walked into the front. They don't have to do that. Less parking. There's all sorts of rumors about this. City planning has promised they're going to come back and do a complete presentation once again to the whole board at a public hearing where we're all going to vote. So they're supposed to come back with a full presentation once again. But there's all sorts of rumors out there that this could be 70-30, which is
70% more, 30% subsidized.
But how subsidized? You know, it's very low income.
It's Section 8 standards.
Okay? And so this is, they're saying it's only going to affect Westchester Square area, but I don't believe anything I'm told lately. We're having a big problem in Pelham Bay, and now we have this. We're fighting for more parking in these buildings. They're making all these deals for these developers. So everyone has to pay attention. This whole plan, I know we went out to the whole board. Did we send it out to the civic associations too? No. Let's do that so we get everyone on board. And the last thing we do when this goes to a public hearing, we don't want anyone to abstain. Abstentions mean even though you didn't vote, it still counts as it wasn't a yes vote, so it still counts as no vote. And that's why we want everyone to be very up to date and educated on this whole thing so that no one abstains and we show a united front from the whole board like Martin's saying. So it's very important. It's going to be a very big deal for our community board. They keep saying it's only one little section in Westchester Square. Now, Andrew's brought up 1,000 points, and he's 100% right. We're not against, families coming in, but our infrastructure, the schools, police department, everything is so stretched out to the limits as it is right now. To do this doesn't make sense. Now, we also have the MTA. Now, we're talking about people without cars. It came up that maybe we should do something like this for disabled vets. It makes sense, but our subway stations aren't handicap accessible. We just went through this whole thing, and they didn't put elevators in all these train stations. It makes no sense. So we really have to stay on top of this. We don't need any more public hearings that we're getting eggs thrown at us. So just everyone do their best to stay on top of this. Thank you.
May I say something? May I just say something? But don't sound so relieved that, it's going to be dumped on the square. We have our fair share.
No.
We have
They say
homeless
it's
shelter.
only going to affect the square, not that.
Well,
We don't believe them.
We don't believe them. We think it's going to affect
well,
everything.
we want the same fight too. We have everything else dumped
No,
there
we don't want
for all
it.
these years.
We already told them we
Right.
don't want it, period.
Right.
They're trying to just say it's just the square. We're not believing that,
Right.
and we don't want it
Right.
anyway.
Well, we want the same. The Westchester Square wants the same fight that Thornton Neck, Pelham Bay, everybody else gets.
No, we don't want
Okay.
it in our
Right.
community.
All right,
Okay,
listen,
just wanted to clarify.
no, but as I said, it's not just any one neighborhood.
Right.
So if whatever portion of our board you live in,
Right.
you better make sure you take a look to make sure it's not going to affect you or how it's going to affect you, straight up.
Right.
So it's not about any one, it's about all these neighborhoods. and that's what we're here to look at.
But
So.
it's just that the square seems to get the more dumpings than anything.
Well, that's what they say. That's what they're saying. But listen, Anna, we ain't letting nobody dump on you no more.
I know.
Okay? All right?
All
We
right,
good?
thank you.
Get it
Are we good? We'll dump it all in Peter's area. No. It's for all sections of the board.
I was brought
Come
up
on,
in
Roseanne.
Westchester Square. Don't even try that.
After the presentation at the community board several months ago, I know Ken said that he was gonna try to unite other community boards and other people that were opposed as well, and I think that was a good idea. Were you ever able to be successful with that?
We had talked about talking to the other community boards in the borough. There are 12 of them. I mean, 11 others, plus us makes 12. And I did that. And I sent out emails to every district
Last
manager.
call.
And I sent out emails to every district manager of the other community boards, and they really did not come back with anything definitive because they were unsure of the plan themselves. This was followed up by a letter, another attempt where I was calling, and they still were unsure because many of them, as of August, had not received their initial review from the Department of City Planning. We had ours early, and many of the boards which are really going to be impacted, most would be 1 through 5, and they hadn't had their visit from City Planning in late August. They still hadn't had it, and we had ours in June. So they have not been able to formulate an opinion. Well, we had budget consultations this week, and with all the city agencies, and HPD was there. Now HPD is going to be one of the lead agencies involved in this process, and HPD didn't really get around to talking to anybody either because City Planning is the lead agency, and HPD had been advising City Planning to get out the word, and City Planning is getting there as they get there. So hopefully the other boards will see what this is. I know that from informal comments from the other district managers that they're pretty upset over the lack of the parking accommodations for senior citizen buildings. Many of them are also concerned about the fact that the subway system does not have enough elevators or escalators on their stations to assist senior citizens living next to the buildings that are going to build the transit corridor.
Bottom line is, they haven't come to us and joined with us as of yet. We're going to continue trying.
Right, because just a suggestion, being that we have had our information so early, you know, and if there was a way to educate them on what we already know,
They do.
They-
do, because it's not just parking.
You got to understand, they know, and sometimes these kind of things are somewhat political, okay? We are a very proactive board, okay? We want to do things a lot of the other boards don't want to do. But we're going to continue trying, and when they get their response and see how they feel, maybe they'll want to join up with that effort. But we're going to continue.
But informally, it's not being received well.
The next report is planning and budget. Yes, you're up, Julian.
Oh, by the way, can you all hear me? Yes. Oh, good. This is the most exciting part of the evening, you know. I know you've all been waiting for this.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
I attended the district cabinet meeting. Ken failed to mention my name.
Whoa.
That's all right, Martin did too. And,
He will.
you know, I've heard of ambulance chasing by attorneys. And I've heard about auto wreckers chasing wrecked cars in accidents. But one of the EMS people alerted us to a new gimmick called house fire chasing. It seems that if a house burns down somewhere, or there's a fire reported, what happens, these people come from all over with boards and all kinds of stuff, and they catch the homeowner at their most vulnerable, and they have them sign documents to rehabilitate the facilities, and they even chase them into ambulances claiming that they're relatives, to have them sign documents essentially signing that they're going to rehabilitate their houses and they get paid for all of this. So the reason why I mention it, Ken Dent, is just to alert you and all of your homeowners associations that if you run into a situation like that, please alert all your homeowners to it, because it evidently is becoming a serious problem, because the EMS guy was really concerned about it. Okay, onward and upward. The Planning and Budget Committee met yesterday. Now, there was an addendum. We didn't have a chance to put it into the minutes, so there was an addendum, and each one of you should have gotten an addendum to the Planning and Budget Committee's minutes and the budget that was attached. Did you see it? You all saw it? Oh, great. Okay. So if you just take a quick look at it, the way it's broken down, we received $229,895, which was an increase to cover contractual obligations, the contracts that DC 37 entered into, because our staff predominantly at DC 37, with the exception of Ken, who is managerial. And the salaries are listed. Those are the personnel salaries. The rest is the other than personnel salary budget items, and they're broken down by code. These are estimates. We don't know what the final numbers are going to come out to be, but if we do have any money left over at the end of the year, we'll figure out ways to spend it. If you run down the list, over here, Ferry? You want the mic? Oh, I thought you...
All right, let's behave.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought you wanted the mic. Oh, okay. So as we were going, if you go down to various budget items, these are the estimated costs that we will arrive at. And if you look at the total at the end, we have a 2014 budget allocation 229, projected expenditures of 196. The projected OTB expenditures is 1742, and we're going to run in, we have a $15,734 accrual. That means additional monies. Now, we were very careful in budgeting in prior years, and we bought equipment for the office, we did all kinds of stuff for the office, that now we're pretty well set up, that we were able to come out with this money, and now we have some money to hire staff. So, the office is going to be in the process of putting out, what do you call them, advertisements, Ken?
Yes.
For staff. So if you know anyone that's interested in a part-time job, they've got to be really super and clerical, and, you know, that kind of stuff, because our office staff is drowning. They're really working hard. Look at that Susan over there. That poor thing. Anyway, she doesn't stop, you know. Now, I've got a motion. Resolved that the request, wait a minute, I gotta read it, Bob. Resolved that at the request of the Planning and Budget Committee of Bronx Community Board 10, that's referred to the whole board, to approve the Bronx Community Board 10 2016 budget, that's the estimated budget for the year, and that it presented consideration to the full board.
I so move.
Move.
And I compliment you.
We've got a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Great, unanimous, right? All right, that's wonderful. We got one piece of business taken care of. The other piece of business is, we received this thing in the mail. When the city of New York doesn't want to give you any money, what they give you is forms to make up. Ken received this stuff in the mail, and he says to me, what do we do with it? And I says, throw it in the garbage. Every other board did. But Ken, being a hero and a good soldier, he went through this thing, and he went through this thing. I don't know how he did it. I mean, he's got page and page and page, and he does all kinds of stuff. And he's going to have to explain it to you. I don't know how he did it, but Ken can explain how he did it. And this went downtown to New York, and when he called up, he says, "Did you get it? Did you read it?" What? After he did all this work, nobody read it. In New York, if you were the budget. I'm impressed. Ken, here you go. You got it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
What Julie is referring to is something called the district needs statement. Every year, every community board has to put in a district needs statement. In the past, it was in a narrative form. It was very easy. You wrote 4 or 5 pages about the history of your board service area, the geographics, the demographics, the economics, and then you put in what your needs were, and you sent it down to the Department of City Planning. Well, they changed the equation this year. I think what they did was they made me and everybody else fill out the very forms that they used to use after they read our narratives. So now they gave us those forms. So we had to fill out those forms. Our forms, after we were finished, came out to 43 pages. It's on the website. You can look at it. It's a combination of our district needs statement in addition to our budget priorities. If anybody has anything that they would like to add to it, please get to me, and I will add things onto it because I haven't really ended up to do that.
What's the deadline time?
October 30th, I believe it was, yeah. And at our Planning and Budget Committee meeting, Bob had given me some other ideas, which I'm going to now add in because I have until the 30th to do that. So I encourage everybody else to do the same. Please take a look at it. It is 43 pages, but it's a quick read. Thank you. It's on the website. It took longer to write than it will to read.
Any old business?
Yeah. Is the letter for the vendors gonna go out soon?
Yeah, now we got the resolution, we're gonna work on it,
Okay.
and we're gonna tighten up the letter and we're gonna get it out,
Awesome.
all right? New business?
We had the Municipal Services Committee review a plan for Tremont Avenue for pedestrian safety, and it got wiped out. And unfortunately, a little further up on Tremont Avenue, 2 nights ago, there was an automobile accident, and the gentleman who was a dear friend of mine actually passed away after getting hit by a car on Tremont Avenue. So I'd like to ask the Municipal Services Committee and the board as a whole, if we could perhaps get together with DOT once again, this time inviting in the Throgsnet Merchants Association and the other organizations of interest to make sure that we can come up with a pedestrian safety plan that works for everybody.
Actually, that would have been on the new business, but we will talk with DOT about it. If you remember before, they're interested in making bike lanes and low. Okay? Usually they want to take away lanes and all of that, and there's going to be a lot of opposition.
All the interested parties involved. As I say, we had another death on Tremont Avenue. We just can't keep killing people. It just
All right,
doesn't work.
well, we'll get in touch with the Merchants Association on that side of Bruckner, and we will discuss it. Because if you remember, that Merchants Association killed the project on our side of
That's
Bruckner.
why I asked you
So,
to get involved.
we will discuss it with them, all right?
Thank you.
New business?
Yeah, real fast, October 4th to 10th is Mental Illness Awareness Week, and just one statistic that people might care about, the third leading cause of death in America for people aged 10 to 24 is suicide. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Well, I'd like to talk with Debbie regarding that and her committee. They may be able to do something with that. Sure, they'd be interested. Dr. Ponder on the new business, you want to?
Thank you, Marty.
And thank you, board, for the opportunity to be able to tell you about something really, really important. A few weeks ago, I had presented, well, let me begin here. Last year, as you may know, Governor Cuomo announced a 3-point plan to end the AIDS epidemic by the end of the year 2020. It's a simple plan wherein we will identify those who have HIV by testing and connect them with care, and those who have been identified to have HIV and been lost to link them with care. And then thirdly, the third prong of this plan is to make available this fantastic preventive tool called PrEP. It's a once-a-day pill that someone who is HIV negative can take and prevent them from getting HIV if they are engaging in risky behavior. It's a 3-point plan. And then subsequently, the governor put together a 64-member team to put together a blueprint in order to implement his plan. Just this last spring, that blueprint was launched. I attended a conference, a summit, at the New York Academy of Sciences down in Lower Manhattan. And at that time, the Manhattan Borough President suggested that all the community boards in the city put together a resolution in support of this plan to get everybody on board so that it could be successful. I thought that was a great idea. I called her office trying to find a sample resolution to make one for our board. They didn't have one. I said, oh, that's great. We might be the first one to be able to get a resolution out here and be ahead of the curve. I wrote the resolution, thought it was well written. My cousin is an author, and I had him look it over, and then I gave it to the chairman, and he said it's not good enough. And basically because it wasn't targeted to a bill, it wasn't, all I was saying is that we support the advocacy work, we support the bill, and I'm glad he did that. So I was a guest at the executive board, and I was given some more guidance. And lo and behold, I went on ahead and Googled and found out that the only openly gay member on the city council, Corey Johnson, has a bill. He has a bill that is now, there'll be a hearing, I think in a couple of weeks, that will expand the HACCP benefits for all people who have HIV. Currently, the eligibility requirements require that you have AIDS. AIDS is the disease, HIV, of course, is the infection. So why wait until someone gets AIDS before they can have these life-saving benefits so that they can get their meds? Clearly, the blueprint, the plan, the governor's plan addresses in some of its recommendations of the blueprint some of the contextual issues of poverty and homelessness. And well, I'm going to rewrite that, Mr. Chairperson, and it's almost finished. What we're thinking about doing, and I hope we can do it, and that is to have the whole borough to endorse this resolution, and let's see if we can lead the city in this particular drive in supporting the governor's plan and in supporting this particular bill. Thank you.
Thank you, okay, any further new business?
Yeah, Mr. Prince, I'd just like to say something on that, and I'm all for the governor ending AIDS, but I wish the city of New York has something that the rest of the country does not have, including San Francisco. Local Law 49 and Denman Laws 50 and stuff. And HRA, which I work in HACCP, HRA does a lot for the people with HIV and AIDS. I wish the governor would do the same for people dying of cancer that might be homeless and they shove them in an open center, or a person that has mental illness and they cut them off from the little bit of benefits they have. I wish the governor would help the city of New York do more for people that are in poverty, that have such a dreadful disease or illness. And I was just at the welfare conference in San Antonio, and Louisiana has no resource test. So you could have as much as you want in the bank, you only have an income test to get benefits. Tennessee has a $20,000. So I wish the state of New York would do so much more for other people that are sick or coming out of a war zone and disabled. I wish they would do so much more. And HIV, yes, but I wish they'd do so much more, and Governor Cuomo is lacking so much. That's all.
I'll make you know, there's so many ills that we have to deal with. And hopefully, if you're moving into Health and Human Services Committee, you will campaign for those things and bring them to the full board. We always appreciate your input. So, hopefully, you will be doing that. And you can work with Dr. Ponder. Yeah, I believe he's on Health and Human Services too. Any other new business? Okay, have a motion to adjourn?
Second that motion.
Okay.
Bam. Give me a bam. Bam. That's right.
Oh, I've been emailing her. She's emailed me, but I didn't know that was her.
Maybe I can bother Annie for
I saw. I don't think so. I think he feels vindicated. He feels like he's getting away with everything, which he is. He is. He was smirking. He's done nothing, and we have not. Are you okay? As a matter of fact, if you can't stand, it's more violent to do it. And before you start,
Are you serious?
We can even let you go see that. Yeah.
So good.
You know, I had to do that to a cat once. One of my cats. Yeah. Yeah. And after that, he was fine. Hey, Bob. Wow, dude, I can't take you anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.